Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the It's Karmic podcast with me, your host, Vika Bradford. As per usual, every single week is the same person. Welcome. Today we have a juicy conversation with, one of my favorite people. If you guys follow me, Renata is one of my fave people ever. So Renata, I can never say your last name correctly. Taravski. I always want to put like an extra A in there.
That's okay.
Renata Taravski, aligned with Renata, as most of you listening will know her, is here to talk about the juicy astrology of 2023 with me. So welcome, Renata.
Thanks for having me back on.
So excited. So for anyone listening, the first episode I did with Renata, I think was in 2021 now. I feel it could have been early 2022. Is a while ago, guys, a hot while ago. So if you guys want to know Renata know her story and like what she does and her sacred work on this earth, please, I'm going to link that episode in the show notes so you guys can get to know her deeper. But today we're actually going to dive right into the juicy conversation of the astrology and the big shifts coming in 2023. So if you're ready for the big shifts this week or this year, sorry, not this week, we're going to go deep into just what I'm calling a year of transformation. Renata, I just realized my headphones aren't plugged in, so we're just going to go with that, guys.
Let's live. The Mercury shadow period is not working out for you.
It's not. I've had like a moment for the last three days. I think we're on day 3, and like every day there's been a Mercury thing where I'm like, it's just my natal Mercury retrograde being a little bit. You have it too, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So okay, guys, we got the headphones in. We're gonna be fine. Okay. So I did a podcast for anyone listening about my like first initial take on the shift of Pluto and Aquarius. So we're going to start there today. And when I was doing that, I had this big inkling where I was like, I need to talk to Renata about this shift specifically because the internet is being, as always, a cesspool right now. And that's just how I feel about the information being shared in pop astrology, particularly around the shift of Pluto going into Aquarius. There are a bunch of astrologers I love talking really candidly about this shift, and I honor that, and I'm like really here for those people. But I was like, I feel like Renata is going to have some really good takes that aren't going to be a load of bullshit. Mm-hmm. So let's dive into this shift and what you are seeing for the little dip this year, and then as we progress into 2024.
So specifically with Pluto?
Let's start with Pluto, and I'm sure Pluto will lead us into the other jungle of information we're going to go into.
So as some people know, we're transitioning from Capricorn, which was a massive, I don't know how many years it was, decades of transformation surrounding all things corporate, the government, and people in power, big money, big wealth, and big control. And we've seen through that transformative process of Pluto and Capricorn, things that, some people are still in the dark about the world, but a lot of people saw the blatant areas of imbalance when it came to power and how there was a lot of power position in big corporations, that maybe they didn't have that type of understanding prior to, say, 2020, especially when things really popped up with the Pluto Jupiter Saturn conjunction. Okay. And now that we're moving out from that period of this transformation regarding Capricorn and transitioning into Aquarius, those are very different energies. Aquarius is like, screw the system. It wants to rebel, and it's all about liberation of self and the collective. Where can we bring more equality? But it also, with astrology, and the way that I like to look at things is twofold. There's a gone right and there's a gone wrong. And I believe you say it's the higher octave and the lower octave. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Octave, whatever, either or.
Octave. Yeah. I'm not really good with English.
I like your flair on the end.
Yeah. It's like I say where's my friends, like, that's not the way it's pronounced. Like, honestly, like, just.
It is today.
Like, this is what it is. As well as one of the laws of the universe was as above, so below. So a lot of times I think we share the similar frustration when it comes to pop astrology is you'll hear these buzzwords and these, these key words when it comes to Aquarius, and it's like freedom of the people. And this is where everything becomes equal. And as delusional as I can be, because I have a lot of Pisces placements and 12th house placements, I can be this extreme realist at times. It's this weird dichotomy of my experience of the universe. So I get really agitated when I see that, because then people feel like I don't have to do anything about that and everything's just going to magically work out. And while I can operate from that realm of someone save me, please. Okay. This is where I feel like people might have a harsh awakening, because last time Pluto was in Aquarius was a time of great reform. Okay. I believe it was the French Revolution. It was the Industrial Revolution. I know America was founded, 1776, but the Constitution was finalized when Pluto was in Pisces, Aquarius.
Yeah, it was basically, the Industrial Revolution was a little later, I believe, but the French Revolution and the American Revolution were happening pretty simultaneously. Right. So what I was researching is they signed the Declaration of Independence, was it that one? One of the documents. I can't remember which one it is. Constitution. Thank you. They signed that one as it was still in Capricorn. And then 2 years later, it shifted into Aquarius. And then the revolution happened. So they signed the document being like, yeah, we're going to be free. But the actual revolution didn't happen till 10, 12, 14, 15 years of Pluto being in Aquarius.
Yeah. And, with that being said, Pluto transits take time. Yeah. They're this slow and steady death of a system. And Pluto essentially goes, what is not moving us forward needs to go. Right. And from a personal level, while it's it's more of a collective shift, it's still a personal shift depending on where that's playing out in your chart and how you're making that contribution to the collective. Now, the theory as above, so below, I forgot to mention. Everyone thinks, oh my God, this is moving here, so I'm going to be saved or someone's going to save me. It's like, no, it's actually power of the people. Where are you making that contribution to save the world? No one else is coming to save your ass, right? So this is where we are hopefully more united in our uniqueness, not our sameness, because what I feel is it can merge in two directions. With astrology, there's always going to be that good, gone right, gone wrong. So with that, guess what? Pluto and Saturn can really have the technocrats come out to play, this wielding of power through the use of technology, transhumanism, AI advancements. And while sure, I think technology is a wonderful gift, there's also the shadow and danger side of it. Plus, there might be the guise of let's all be equal, but as long as you follow these rules and you say this and you do this, because guess what? That automatic car you're driving, you didn't follow the rules. I'm going to shut that shit down. I'm not saying it's going to turn that way, but the shadow of Aquarius is dystopian-like.
Yeah.
So we're just not going to move into Pluto of Aquarius for a little bit. The dates we went over, it was March 23rd, 2023 to June 11th, 2023 for that little stint. This is also going to be, the gone right side is where people go, shit, I'm also participating in how the world's playing out and how I affect humanity and how, no one's going to come to save me. We're actually unified in our uniqueness, not our sameness. Where are things not equal? But I'm not talking about that performance activism bullshit where we're all pretending like we're making it more equal and we're giving these people voices, but it's just for show, and change isn't really happening behind closed doors. If anything, people feel more stifled and disconnected.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, I think also the Pluto and Aquarius, I think of Star Wars and the Hunger Games. Those are dystopian manifestations of Pluto and Aquarius in life.
They totally are.
Right? Because Pluto and Aquarius gone wrong too can be very elitist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's very elitist. And, with that, we could be the dystopian slaves. I'm not saying that's going to happen. So everyone calm down. I'm just saying that we get to determine what happens, right? By our own, what is Pluto and Aquarius calling out for you personally in your own chart? And I encourage everyone to work with an astrologer that does their transit reports to really see where's my responsibility right now with Pluto and Aquarius, and where do I need to let go of old ways or old traditions or stuffy structures or this weird hierarchy of power and corruption, the corporations and everything, and come back down to earth and say, you know what? we still need to maintain our individuality, but I also, where am I not liberating myself?
Yeah.
I think I'm done with
100%.
that right now. Maybe worse. I'm just like, I
Yeah.
think I'm talking too much.
No, you're not at all. No. I love it. Cause like, it's just so pointed to the fact that, the individual versus the, what did you call it? Something around like us being the same, right? Like that high octave, low octave, gone right, gone wrong is really like Aquarian people can be either, because Aquarius is always seeking individuality and feeling like they don't belong. That energy in general is looking to belong. There's either I am a unique individual and just accept me as I am, and I don't need the external validation, Leo energy, versus I need the external validation, Leo energy. So like, I'm gonna morph the world to become a place that accepts me, whether or not that harms people or not, because of that detached Aquarian energy, right? So I think we're going to see a lot of detachment, but also at the same time, a lot of emotional reactivity over the next couple years.
Definitely. Because people all claim they want change. And you can go in the comment section on the internet, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of really messed up shit happening in the world. And this is where people like to complain about it a lot and complain about it, how it's not fair. And I'm like, okay, got it. Like vent. I'm like, I'm the queen of ranting, but there also comes a point of responsibility. What is my bitching and complaining doing? Like, how am I actually being the change I want to see in the world?
Yeah.
And I find on the internet, people feel, you feel maybe more connected when you form alliances with people who maybe share certain values as you, and they can understand your uniqueness. So you feel connected in that regard. And I think that's great. Yet, it doesn't care. I don't care what you're actually arguing about, because there's topics that are very polarized. There could be this toxicity within both of them. And then this attachment of identity within both of those extremes.
Yeah.
So now you've actually lost, you think you found your tribe or community or group or whatever word you identify with. Yet at the same time, now you've still isolated yourself as this, we're better than, which is kind of just what the opposite side is doing. So are we really more connected? We're actually quite divided in that regard.
Quite divided. I think about when, and I think most of us experience this in our teenage years, when we're seeking to belong and we're throwing all these labels on ourselves. I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. For me, it was, I'm going to be punk, and I'm going to be goth, and I'm going to be like depressed girl, then I'm going to be this girl, all these labels we slap onto ourselves to seek some sort of belonging. And really, it's not until we absolutely strip all those labels off of ourselves that we find ourselves, and we're like, I'm not any of those labels. I'm literally just like a meat bag experience, like a soul with a meat bag, just wandering around this weird ass earth. And like, that's the disintegration of your true individuality coming out, being like, I associate with nothing at this point, versus putting yourself into those boxes.
Yeah, that's what I love about Aquarius. It frees itself from the boxes. It's like, it can be a walking contradiction. And that's why that's your astrology chart. Sometimes you can be, calm and collected here, and then you lose you're more fiery and aggressive in another area, and maybe you're a bit more passive in another area. And that's where we are not trying to fit and squeeze into a label, into a box, into a trend. And Aquarius can be like, again, because a lot of people jump on these things as a false sense of, I'm rebelling and I'm showing how I'm going to be free and liberated. But I'm like, are you? Is that still coming from a place of insecurity? And is it also coming from a place of, I'm going to go and jump on this thing, pretending that I'm different or own what I'm different, but it's really because I want to belong in this peer group, or I feel pressured. So maybe you identify with certain things or topics, but you're not really agreeing with how it's being shared in the world, or how it's being positioned in the world. There's so many things we could talk about that. And again, you're like, there's some nuance here and I don't really identify with that, but I feel pressured. I feel peer pressure to succumb to this image because I still agree with a lot of these points, even though I don't agree with all of them, because then where do I belong? So people have actually a hard time living in that area of true nuance and authenticity, because everyone claims, I want to be authentic, I want to be liberated, I want to be free and express myself. Yet there's a very small amount of people who do that, because the cost actually of authenticity is terrifying.
It is.
Well, it is spade a spade. I will always choose my alignment and authenticity, but don't for a second, every day, even though I feel free, I still am like, I don't see a majority of other people expressing this in society. And it's a battle I have to face every day. That could be because my Lilith and my Chiron on the 11th house of Aquarius. Okay. That's a personal thing for me. Yet a lot of people, even though behind closed doors, everyone's saying it, when it comes to society, everyone's going to have to pull up their socks and say, damn it, like I'm actually contributing to this problem that I keep bitching and complaining about. I want equality. How am I participating into that problem of inequality, or the things I don't like about the systems, or where it's not fair for people? The comment section ain't going to do it anymore.
No, 100%. I think we saw a lot of that over the last 3 years. It's like, well, were you stepping out into society, in your moral values, or were you complacent against things that actually went against your morals and your actual individual feelings? Did you comply? And, no judgment at the end of the day, whether you did or you didn't. But in the end, I was thinking about this morning, like, if we continue to be complacent, so many people that are like, I just don't want to deal with it. I just don't want to deal. I don't want to watch that because I don't want to deal with it. And I'm like, well, I guess the world's going to go that way because there's so many of you that just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. And I want to mention one thing in Pluto and Aquarius. Don't feel like you got to be an activist for every cause because it's trending. Stop that.
No.
It's disgusting.
It is.
You pretending to repost something that you don't give a shit about isn't creating any change. People can feel that frequency online. It's not doing anyone any good. It is acting. Okay. It's not inspiring. And I understand people did that out of a sense of peer pressure. I don't want to look like an asshole. I don't want to be judged. All I'm inviting everyone to do is commit to and be the activist for things that really matter to you, and stay focused there. Do not get distracted and stop thinking that everyone's going to be as committed as you are to reform something in society. Doesn't mean they don't care. That's just not where their calling is. That's not where they're called to reform for the collective. We all need to kind of check ourselves there, because there's a lot of things that are occurring in the world that I'm like, that's not okay. That's not cool. Unfortunately, there's not a million Renatas that can dedicate my energy to set causes. And that is completely unfair to bestow on someone or to expect that of someone. Because 100%. If each of us just focus on the thing that we want to reform, that we want to change, that we want to take a stand for, we're going to get a lot more shit done. We have to understand we're all moving in the same direction. We're just focusing on a different area to get to that set destination.
100%. And when you're saying that, I'm thinking about this shift happening, and how everything's in our face now. Like, I think about how, people talk about, like, we're not supposed to see this many problems. Maybe we're not supposed to, because let's take that word out, like, because it is what it is. So, but the idea is that taking on the world's problems is not a healthy way to function, or it's like, it's absolutely destructive to the nervous system, to all these things. So what are your thoughts on, as we're moving into like more of a technology focused, weird ass dystopian world in one view, in the other view, there is a light side, guys, but just, leading into that for a minute, people are afraid of AI. People are afraid of, the nanobots. They're already like injecting things into people's brains that are going to cure disease, like blowing up cancer cells with these like nanobots and shit. So I'm just thinking, like, what can we do as humans to remain human through this time where everything is shoved in our faces? We are seeing like the constant bombardment of this energy because it is technology. What can we do to like self-soothe or stay human?
Yeah, well, Aquarius rules that nervous system. So nervous system support is going to be huge. Everyone's going to have to look at where they could be taking better care of their nervous system response instead of spazzing out, which, I think is needed for every individual to maintain true health. Look, here's the thing. Society is going to evolve and innovate, and that's needed in society. We can't disregard all 12 zodiac signs are occurring at all points in our chart at all times, depending on if it rules a house or if there's planets there. So we can't just get rid of Aquarius, right? Some people fear, but we need innovation. We're always going to be growing and expanding. And there's a lot of great with that. There's a lot of shadow aspects. So if some people are like, I don't want to subscribe to this reality, you got an option. Well, how do you want to engage with technology? Like, remember when credit cards first came out? I know a lot of people are like, I ain't getting no credit card. And then eventually everyone got a goddamn credit card. So there's certain things, whether we admit to it, like it or not, we're going to succumb to certain things.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
iPhones, like how am I going to
say iPhones? That was a big one when like the iPhone and even the BlackBerry came out. People were like, no, like that's a little bit much. And I just remember being like, I gotta get my hands on one of these damn things. But years before, when I was in high school, like, you know, cell phones became normalized when I was in high school, and I wouldn't get one. I didn't have Facebook. I didn't have a cell phone. And people would be like, how do I get a hold of you? I'd be like, you knock on my damn door, bitch. Like that's all I had for them.
And unfortunately, you know, some people are going to feel like you're throwing pebbles at a tank, and things are going to shift in a direction. Now, look at Star Wars. Would I want a little R2-D2 robot? Yeah, sure. Why not? Like, I like it, so cute. Like, so I think sometimes we have there's this apocalyptic or this scary, you know, one aspect because we've been so predictably programmed regarding that and the fears of AI. And I'm not saying that's not possible. Like, they've been allegedly using hologram technology and shit that you don't even know that's like exists right now. So it's already happening. So you can try to throw your pebbles at it, ain't going to change.
Yeah.
However, I do believe that this technology, there could be a lot of good with it, just like the duality of everything in life.
Yeah.
Okay. And it all comes down to your personal choices. So, you know, maybe I have a problem with my phone. I use it to escape all the time. That's a personal response. I got to change that relationship I have with technology because it's awful and I hate it and I need to do something about it. So, you know, I can use it for good and I can frame it in context for good. And then I can also be aware if I'm choosing it for the wrong places, and there's a consequence for that. There's an impact for that. Now, I think people need to be more cognizant of changes when it comes to technology because they're going to position some things that are really shady as really wonderful.
Like the metaverse.
Right. And sometimes I joke, I'm like, is this where my husband's in the metaverse? So I'm like, oh my God, AI's already, it's like, gotcha. So I'm just kidding. Right. So I joke sometimes I make light of the situation, and that doesn't mean you have to join the metaverse, but you know, maybe you decide to live off the land and go back to your roots, and that's what makes you feel most free. But shit's going to happen. Yeah. And you're not going to like it. Like, you're not going to like what AI is going to do and how people are going to choose to put chips in their brain, but it's going to happen because there's going to be people who want to have it done.
Yeah, 100%. I was listening to a talk from Rick Levine. He's an astrologer I just absolutely love. I don't know if you know his work, but he was talking about transhumanism in Aquarius yesterday on this one chat. And I was just like, let's go in. And he was talking about how in the Industrial Revolution, there was a group, I cannot remember the name of this group, but there was a group of people that had a specific like name, like, you know, you label anyone, who were so against the Industrial Revolution because they said to put machines in factories was taking away from humanity and it wasn't human. And I see a lot of that now. I can't say I'm not one of them, sometimes just being like, no, like slow down. But you know, it went ahead and it had to happen, and it did happen.
Yeah. You know, and again, that it's kind of like we're all kind of and this is where people, you know what, and this is, can I bring this up? Remember the AI photos that came out?
Yeah, please talk about that.
Yeah, because we had different views, which I think was great. Which I think I think this is why it's good, so people can see, like, we both had different views on it. And when it initially came out for you, I believe you're like, I'm not doing this. This is shady as shit. You felt like, correct?
Yeah. I was instantly like, I downloaded it for a second, and then I was like, no, this is going to steal my soul. Like, it was like, this is going to open dimensions and portals. I don't know what it was. Right? I was like, no. But then everyone else didn't have that feeling. Well, not everyone else, because
no, I thought it was very split. So this was an interesting blip on people's reactions. Yeah. So for me, you know, for those of you who know me, I'm obsessed with superheroes And I always joke that I'm waiting to become like an Avenger. So maybe this is where the metaverse is going to get me. It's like, gotcha, Renata. And I'm kidding. I'm actually kidding, but I do want to be a superhero. That's just my Pisces aspects. Okay. So when AI came out, it was funny because all my friends who were close to me, they were like, if anyone's going to do this, it's going to be Renata. Because of course she wants to see what superhero she was going to be. But the converse, and it was nothing more than that for me. I didn't read the fine. Actually, I already had that app downloaded because I used to edit some things in the past. I didn't read no fine print. I was just like, yeah, I'm doing this, whatever. Boop, bing, bang, boo. It wasn't even a second thought. I was like, of course I want to see this. And then the outrage from both sides was just phenomenal to witness, because this is where I saw we are all living in our little mini matrix and everyone thinks they have it all figured out. Like truly, myself included here. And that was such a humbling moment, because I was like, damn, I felt so strongly against something where other people were just like, whatever. And now here I am being like, it's not that serious. And people are like, you're just feeding the metaverse and you're this. And I'm like, we're all on our demon phone. I'm so sorry. So throw that shit in the trash, you know what I mean? And I get other people's arguments around it and their points of views, which are completely valid. And I'm like, fair, totally. I didn't realize it was stealing art from other artists. I'm like, that's super shady. Like, that's not cool. So like, but everyone got so like split into two. And this is where I'm like, this is not good.
No, the polarization was very interesting. And I actually appreciated you in those moments because you were just howling at it.
I was laughing.
And I had about a day or so where I was just like, fuck this shit. And then I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm just done talking about it. And you were just in the stance of being like, this is fascinating. And then we had other people being like the complete opposite of the spectrum. So it was a fascinating conversation of, you could see like many different camps come up and like, with their weapons, being ready to protect, you know, whatever hill they stand on. They were like ready to go. And I mean, I was on one of those hills for a second there.
Yeah. And I also was a bit, I'm not going to lie, I was also a little bit agitated because I was like, guys, this is hypocrisy. This is Hippocratic. Like, this is a pure hypocrisy. Where Hippocratic, oh my God.
Is there a word for that?
Hypocritical.
Hypocritical.
And I was like, look, and I'm not saying there certain points were valid, because I totally get like the priming you to morph into your avatar, but I've already been using my witchy avatar. And I was like, I get it. Your points are valid. Like, I see what you're saying. But for me, I wanted to see what damn superhero I was going to, and it wasn't that serious. There was people like, you have low self-esteem. You don't love yourself. And I was like, whoa. I was like, this is not what it was. And I am not the one who read the fine print. So if I'm going to be in some, you know, weird movie, 10 years, my AI version, that's my fault. Like, and I just 100%. Found we got a little unhinged there for a moment, but it brought up a great conversation I found where technology and where the universe is where this is going is the Wild West.
Yeah, it really is. Like, it's so new. It's so like, really, when we think about it, internet is only 30 years old.
Yeah.
It's so new. And we are just dipping our toes into it. And our generation didn't grow up with it till we were quite like probably into our teens and preteens. Yeah. Like, that's when like the internet, they became normalized in homes. So yeah, it is the wild, wild west.
And you know what I love back to your AI, your feelings around it is it didn't feel right for you. And
it didn't feel right.
That's the key thing with discernment, where I didn't have any fears. I might have opened up a portal of demons in I don't know, you know, like, that's my problem. You live and learn, you know.
100%.
It also was a humbling moment for me where I'm like, I think I know it all for everything. And sometimes I feel like this is so right. And this is the way it is, where I was like, damn.
Yeah. And didn't this happen in Sagittarius season? Because I remember being like,
yeah, I think
wow,
so.
we got I think it was because
because righteousness on steroids came out.
Yeah, okay.
It reminded me of when the nodes of the nodal points were in Gemini and Sag, where everyone was so righteous. And they were so, you're wrong, how dare you? And I was like, guys,
yeah, it was very much that energy.
Let's just have a conversation. Like, you want to have a conversation here, like, but to start losing it on people, which we've done when like March 2020, it was that nodal axis of I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting to be like, damn, we actually don't know what we're getting ourselves into. And for me, it was like, okay, moving forward, I need to be more mindful. And at the same time, I'm gonna be completely transparent. I'm like, there's some things that I'm completely complacent with regarding technology. Cause
100%.
like
Reading the fine print, I don't have
Instagram-
time.
when Instagram changes terms and conditions, remember everyone's like, I'm getting off Instagram, screw Instagram. And I was sitting there being like, we're fucked. Like we are so like, unless we all create a different system for this time being, whether we like to admit it or not, because I don't have the solution. I'm going to admit, like, I am selling my soul a little bit here, just like the rest of us. So let's just own it and say, we're all being a bit, we're committing to this. And everyone made their reasons. Well, this is why I do it. And everyone's going to do that during Pluto and Aquarius. Well, this is why I chose this. And what's this justified this? Just own it.
Yeah, totally.
Because until we just all, come to terms with what's occurring and we want to create a new system, we're all kind of a bunch of hypocrites.
100%. And I think like the fine line in that conversation is the knowing that we have so much possibility with the technology. And I think we forget it. And I think we're being programmed to forget it a little bit, to be in that fear mindset, that we have more information at our fingertips than imaginable. You can learn anything. You can discover anything you want at the hands of the internet. And if we can use it as like a beautiful tool to become our most masterful, amazing selves. Like right now, I'm so deep into like learning about discipline. And that's my work right now. It's very Capricorn of me, but that's where I'm hanging out right now, is discipline and temperance. And I'm learning all of that through books and the internet and watching all these YouTube videos and all these things. My business, both of our businesses function because of these things, because right now we're on this damn computer with this internet connection, like the blessings of it. And then remembering like those moments, like you said, because I do the same thing with my phone, where we're escaping into it and it's actually not doing anything for us, but maybe frying our nervous systems and like shooting LED lights into our eyes when we really maybe just go read a fucking book or lay down or do something, right? So it's like, where do we find the middle ground between the mastery of technology and the gift of technology and the soul-sucking demonic version of technology?
Yeah, because the way that the world's running right now isn't also the most equal system. And I can attest to that. I'm sure a lot of people can agree to that. Yeah. But with all those industrial revolutions and changes, as much as people want change, Pluto also, this is where people cling to dear life for the old ways of being.
Always.
So I don't want people to go into the Pluto and Aquarian things that we're all going to turn into aliens and I don't know, transhumanism, and we're all going to become a robot or stuff like that, because you still have, I believe we can still shape that, and technology can be used for good. It can bring innovation. Like, what if someone was not able to walk and they get the opportunity to be like, we're going to put a chip in your brain to help you walk again, or help you talk again, or to help your body regenerate a limb or some shit.
Literally.
Then are you gonna? No, because these are hard questions I had to ask. I was having a conversation with Charlene and I was like, these are really great questions, because we can shit on something, but then if you're actually in that position, this is where we get, again, too black and white about things.
Yeah, there's the nuance
again. Has to come back, where I'm like, yeah, what if I was paralyzed? And they said some people would still not do it. And I respect that. And some 100%. People would be like, wow, I'd be able to walk again. I'd be able to talk, or I'd be able to see again.
Yeah.
There could be, and again, some people will be like, you're playing God. Respect that.
Mm-hmm. Haven't humans always been trying to play God though? Like, if we really look back as a species, aren't we always trying to do that? So I love that point that, I think the Neuralink is absolutely terrifying in one sense, but then on the other sense, when I think about it, assisting someone with a paralyzed leg or paralyzed arm, that is quite beautiful and amazing. Or I think about the conversation I was listening to yesterday. He was talking about hearing aids for people who have never heard in their life, like not people who lost their hearing, people who have never heard. Like a simple hearing aid gives them the ability to turn one of their 5 senses on. And I can't imagine personally not being able to hear music my whole life. And then all of a sudden technology steps in and says, here's something you've been missing for 30 years. Here's your hearing aid, and you can hear music again.
Yeah. So that's why this is it's such a nuanced, complex, and every little micro situation is so nuanced within itself. And this is where people have lost the art of nuance, and they just get so absolute about things. And I'm like, but you have a credit card where before you would have lost your shit like 200 years ago, if that came into play. Yeah. And here we are. So, and there's a lot of things that you say that you don't do, but you actually do if we like look through it. So what's really the issue is that I'm just trying to say all the things to look like I'm a better person. And where can we all be like, maybe I shouldn't judge so much. And there's a lot of things I don't like. We talked about that fall of technology and control and the dystopian aspects of it. But I do feel that there's so much beauty with technology, that it can help us with so many things. And it really depends on who's the one engaging with that.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a really beautiful way to approach something that I think people are very afraid of right now, is like, it is the wielder, right? It's like magic, right? Whoever wields the magic, it's not the magic that's bad. It's or a gun, for goodness sakes, a sword, a knife. Like, it's not the knife that is the problem. It's the wielder of the weapon.
Yeah. And because unless you don't have an iPhone and you're living off land and that's your personal choice, I think that's amazing. I still feel like we do need to get more into community, more connected to our network, more how can we work and support each other. That could even be through a bartering system. That's another way that people could be more in that realm of Aquarian. Like, we're all working together as a united community, which we've lost, and I miss it.
I know. Like, I've been thinking about that. Yeah.
That is something that I feel has a potential to be birthed, where people are gonna be like, because now we're living this Capricorn energy is like hustle, make money, buy a home, grow your investments, like drive that car, get that bag. Like, and I'm just kind of like, it sucks when I walk into my condo and everyone's just on their phone. No one's connecting. There's no connection. And Aquarius is the connector. It's community, it's friendship. So from that, aside from all the technology, I do feel like there's just different expressions of how that energy might come about. And I feel people are going to realize, damn, community is really important. Like, maybe some people are going to rewind back to the basics while still using an iPhone potentially. Okay. Like
100%. Yeah. And that's kind of what I've been feeling into. One of my shifts I hope happens is what you're saying is, people go back to the basics, not necessarily like well, I mean, there's the Taurus Uranus thing happening too. So back to the literal basics, but back to the basics in the sense of, yes, coming back into community. And what I've noticed and I'm having an inkling about, don't check in on this one for like 20, 30 years, but is that our generation seems to want to go back to like what our great grandparents were doing, like simpler, like bake your bread, make your own beer, be on, like, so many people are like, I just want to live on a homestead, like put a couple tiny houses up and we can all just be in a community together. A lot of people in my life that are having babies, or they're all having babies together, they all want like a place where they can homeschool their children together, have the community together, take care of each other's children. So I'm like, that's also very Aquarian. We forget that that's a very Aquarian thing to do.
100%. And it's beautiful because it's also saying, I'm getting out of this indoctrinated system. Because Aquarian is the free thinker. I'm going to be willing to challenge the norms. I'm going to be willing to, it's a catalyst of change, right? And it's like, this isn't, me following this system isn't really conducive to what I want to experience. And it doesn't liberate me. I mean, when you're not harming others, but I do. Yeah. You see so many already started in 2020 when Saturn made that blip in Aquarius, people started homeschooling. They had to homeschool. They choose not to go back into the system, and I definitely feel like you said that will be one expression of the Pluto and Aquarius energy. And even I'm like, can we just all live on a beach and like live together and like have a coconut or some shit? Like, even though I love this technology, I'm getting very tired of living in this like condo downtown life, this hustle, this like I live in the city shit. And I'm like, I just want to, all I care about, and again, that started with Saturn Aquarius in 2020, it's just my community, my friends, where I feel most free.
Literally. That's all I've been thinking about since probably the same time, where I'm like, where can I just be on the land? For me, it's like near a lake or mountains and with my people, like when we gather with, Charlene and whomever else joins us in those gatherings. Like those are those moments where I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm with my people. I can, I feel supported. I feel heard. I feel full. I feel, I feel human.
Yeah. And that's what I'm really looking forward to with Pluto in Aquarius, is not this fear of what we're going to turn into, like a dystopian society. It's everyone's going to have to look at, where am I holding on to these like fabricated friendships? Where am I, trying to, like, I already kind of touched on that with you earlier with peer pressure, where I'm getting mad or I'm cutting someone off for having like a different view than me. And again, oh, I just really want true connection. We can have the same values, but I respect and honor the fact that maybe you have a different personality, I feel like people are going to have a harsh wake up call. I'm sorry to say it, especially if you had friendships that you had to be somebody that you're not.
Yeah.
And I think the beauty of that is it's going to be, a death. With a death comes rebirth, where you'll find the better connections, but you have to be willing to let go of that group or those friendships that aren't serving you.
Or even like the community, quote unquote, that isn't serving you, right? Like I'm just thinking about how many of my people in my community have left, religious organizations because it wasn't in alignment with their values, but they were going because of a certain peer pressure, or people in the juxtaposition of it who have left not being religious to join, a church or something, because that is where they found community or wholeness, or it uplifts them in a certain way. It's like the disintegration of the community that didn't make sense with you. You're just kind of plopped in it. You're like, you were raised to be in that. It's like, but does it make sense with your moral values? Is that your community, your group? Are those your people?
Yeah. Yeah. And then I feel some of us will be called, or depending again where this plays out for you, where can I be like, where can I bring change? Like what, again, that where be the change you want to see in the world, like for real though.
Yeah, literally. I was looking at something this morning. It was just like a pin on Pinterest, and it had all the nodes on it. And of course you look at your own, because it's like, oh, what do they have to say about me? So I go to mine. It was like Aquarius, and it was to reform. And I was like, that's just so like, the rest of them I actually didn't like. They were like silly. Like the 12th house was to unwind. And I was like, that's not right. I'm not gonna, no. But, to reform felt really, really pointed of the fact that, as a North Node Aquarius, I'm like, I am here to reform. I actually had a call earlier today where I was like, that's a big freaking like job. As a North Node Aquarius, I feel like it's a big freaking job to like reform. But, it's actually for a minute coming back to like, okay, well, like what's your solo sacred job to reform here? And we're all going to be in this energy of like, what are we reforming? And that doesn't mean you start a business and start coaching people and like reform in that way. It doesn't mean you do anything particularly. It's just like, what is your particular reformation work through this transit?
Like mine's going to be moving through my 6th house and 7th, so it's like service, my health, my routines. And also then 7th house predominantly is going to be lurking in there. Thank God. So much fun. Relationships.
Could be the most beautiful time though. Could be the time where they could be that time, right? Where like everything that's been standing in the way of that stuff disintegrates. And all of a sudden you're like, hi, I was with a friend the other day whose chart I was peeking at, and I realized that Pluto is on her Neptune right now. And I was like, oh no, sorry, it was her boyfriend's Neptune. So hers was 2 degrees, 27 degrees was where hers was. His is 29. And I was like, oh, his like Pluto's on his Neptune right now. I was like, that's a big spiritual awakening, because when Pluto hit my Neptune, that's when I like woke up and I was like, hello world. And I said to her, I was like, oh, for the last 2 years, you've been going through a spiritual awakening. We've talked about that. And like her jaw just dropped and she was like, it's been the best time of my life. And I'm like, this is why we need to remember that Pluto is hard. Pluto is hard work.
So hard. Oh my God.
It makes it can also be one of the most beautiful, potent moments of your life where you're like, that's when I became the best version of myself, or something happens where you're like, it's actually beautiful because everything fell away that was holding me back from me.
And I think people fear Pluto because of that. Pluto says, like I said earlier, I'm getting rid of the shit that doesn't work. I'm making you face your fears that you're being complacent around, that's holding you back. And while that's liberating in one sense, and it's like, oh my God, I get to start anew. I always look at my Pluto transits as I'm like, that was the best thing that happened to me. Holy shit. And I never want to go through that again.
100%. That was literally exactly it, is like, best thing ever. Fuck, I don't want another one. Like, and we're both like, I think you're moving into is Pluto going to square your IC?
It's already doing that.
It's already happening. So
it's squaring my midheaven, and it's squaring my, it's squaring my midheaven. It's squaring my IC, and it's going to oppose my ascendant and descendant.
Okay. So yeah,
life is just going to fall apart.
All the things, which is what I've been going through for the last, little while. It's been squaring my rising and descendant for the last 3 years. And now it's going to be moving on to my midheaven and IC. So we'll be just in this together, and, we'll come out of this and be like, best thing ever. Never want to do it again. But
yeah. And as I'm in it right now, I know the things that I'm clinging on to, because Pluto's like, stop it already. And it kind of nudges you at first. And then finally it goes, honestly, I'm throwing you off the cliff. I'm forcing you to leap. I'm taking the rug from right underneath you for your own goddamn good. Right. And this is where we're forced to look at the things in our shadow. That's that trending shadow work term, or whatever the shit people call. And because when we look and we befriend our fears, that's where we become liberated. And that's all that Pluto's trying to do. It's like, this isn't working for you. We both know it's not working for you. Like, stop. But why does most people, not everyone, most people fear death. They don't fear death itself. They fear the unknown. And that's Pluto's territory. You're going into something you've never gone before, even if it is aligned. But your default survival mechanism goes, cling on to this for dear life. Most people, some people will surrender a bit better than others. So even though we talked about a lot of exciting things that can come of it, some of you might still be operating from fear because it's what you know. And guess what? For when we're safe or when we feel out of control, we cling on to what's certain, even if it's not for our highest interest. And that's okay. Welcome to being human.
Yeah, literally, I say it to my clients all the time. I'm like, it's okay. You're just human. We're all just freaking human. Like, having human experiences with all the nuance, like you said, right?
And I say this sometimes with Pluto transits, even if someone reaches out for support or guidance and they want coaching and you give them tools or all the things, and they're still stuck and they're resistant because they're locked in that fear, right? Yeah. And I say, you just got to suffer some more. That's terrible. But I was like, it's not even terrible. It's just reality. I'm like, you haven't suffered enough yet, because until
even at that point
where you can't stand your own bullshit, where you're like, damn it, this is the change I need to make. This is where I need to speak up. This is where I need to quit my job and take that leap and make it work. Or, like, my lifestyle is going to change a little bit. Sometimes the only thing that's in your way, you think it's Pluto or a transit, is yourself.
It's you. Yeah.
So when you get out of your own space and you're tired of your own bullshit and you feel like, I'm done with this suffering, that's when Pluto goes, okay, great. Now the transformation can start.
Literally. Yeah. Yeah. And remembering, that's what we're going to leave off with this energy today, is like, Pluto is not just death. I feel like people get so stuck on that. They're like, oh, it's just death. I'm like, but it's also rebirth. So as we move through this energy, the next, our little blip this year, and then 2024, like, it's also rebirth.
I know.
So yeah, we can't forget that part.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you have to be willing to let go of what you've outgrown. And that's Pluto's just here to help you do that.
Yeah.
It's fine. We get uncomfortable with change, even though we want it.
I know. Yeah.
And I think people have to start normalizing that discomfort is okay. It's because you are entering a new territory that you don't have your bearings. You don't have your surroundings. But so many people are like, well, I don't have it perfect and I don't have it all figured out. I'm not going to do it. And then your life goes by.
Literally.
Where I'd rather make a lot of mistakes and fail hard and fail fast, where you learn from them. And Pluto gives that, it kind of extends that invitation, but a lot of people look at it as this dreadful, scary thing. Yeah. Because with that, you have to be willing to let go of certain beliefs, habits, things about yourself in your life, even people or situations that don't serve you. And I'm not saying that's sometimes an easy feat. Sometimes I let myself suffer for years because I'm like, I didn't suffer enough yet. And then finally I wake up in certain Pluto transits. I was like, there's no other option here. Like I am like the actions that I need to take, no one's going to come to save me. I had to come save myself. So I get it. You might not like to hear that,
but it might be needed to be heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I love this so much. So, okay. We essentially know, okay, there's a big personal responsibility piece here. Let's not be so afraid of technology and make technology work for us, essentially, and really understand that like, we need to get out of our own damn way. That's what I'm hearing here.
Yeah. And we have to be, more mindful of new advancements of technology, be willing to kind of see, is there a sneaky bad agenda here?
Yeah.
What am I signing up for? What am I selling my soul to? And then what choice do I want to make with regard to that advancement in society?
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Tell everyone listening how they can like find you and work with you right now, because like you do some pretty friggin' cool shit. But I'm not sure what you're doing exactly right now. So how can they work with you right now?
So people can work with me one-on-one coaching. You could just DM me and there's like a whole like process to make sure we're really aligned. If that's something that you want support in, whether it comes with aligning with your purpose or even getting in alignment with your business. And that's where I combined astrology, human design, coaching, mentorships, energetics, the works. It's a very comprehensive way that I help you get in your alignment, whether it's just solely with your purpose or your business. So I'm currently taking people for that. And then I have my one-on-one astrology readings, the life purpose one, which is my version of the birth chart, and then the transit reading. So if you want to kind of, what is occurring right now in terms of your purpose, your life, your soul's journey, that's what that reading is. And it's all available, link in my bio on Instagram at Align with Renata.
Amazing. And I would highly suggest anyone listening to this that's kind of like wondering about what's happening in their chart, if you're kind of maybe resonating with certain frequencies we talked about today, maybe going over and connecting with Renata based on the transits. That might be the really, really good one to tap into based on just knowing we're moving into a lot of different energy this year, not just Pluto and Aquarius, like other conversations are going to come. But that might be the one where you're like, I really actually need to know my transits right now so I can mentally, emotionally, spiritually prepare for not predicting what's going to happen, but understanding the themes you are processing through.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for your time and energy. This conversation has been really good. And I think a lot of people will receive the honestness of it really well. At least the people who listen to my work will receive that honest feedback really well.
I think so too. Thanks for having me again.
I really appreciate it. So I will drop everything in the show notes for you guys to connect with Renata. You'll, just go and just follow her Instagram and laugh a little bit. Like that will just be enough for you, I promise. And I will also link, like I said, our first episode, so you guys can listen to that too and learn more about her story, what she does, and her freaking magic that she's just putting into the world. So thank you so much, Renata.